Hi, this is Christina, Releasing for a Better Life. I'm going to just review the program with you really quickly and remind you again that, these are like a video journal of things I'm discovering and things I learned about through this process because, as I've talked about so many times, I had an incredible anxiety problem that was really altering my life, and that's where I discovered this program. And in doing this, it has created a whole new world for me that's opened up so much. So first, let's just review the program again really quickly. It's a pretty simple thing. Basically, whenever you're going through something in your life, it could be something good, something bad, whatever, it doesn't matter. You just imagine you go into kind of a little bit of a meditative state. You can talk through it, but it's kind of meditative, and you just imagine a ball in front of you and you put everything into that ball, the good, the bad, whatever's going on in your life, you just fill this ball up, and then you imagine releasing that ball and all the issues that are in there, the good and the bad, up to God or to whatever it is you believe in. You just release it. This is pretty open to whatever you believe. And you release them not wanting to hold on to any of it anymore. You want to let it go. And when you do that, it works like prayers do. You start getting messages back. Sometimes it's quickly, sometimes it's much later. But you do get messages back, and it's hard to say how they come. I've heard many different ways people get them. For me, I often will see numbers or ideas will all of a sudden come up to me that I hadn't thought of before, or things just seem to go away. They just don't seem to be there anymore. Often I've found a book that I didn't know I wanted, but it's exactly what I needed. Or people will say something to me or tell me something, or I'll see a video that just popped across my feed and I wasn't planning on it, and it will turn out to be something I really needed to see. So the messages come in various ways. I also talked that I like to allow myself to vent or express what's going on with my angels. I believe angels are there with us all the time. They're guarding us, they're protecting us, but they're also guiding us. So when you allow yourself to express what's going on in your life and use them as the source of venting, it's amazing what solutions happen or what's taken away from you. It's like the burden is gone. The burden is gone with the releasing, but sometimes you just need to talk. Sometimes releasing isn't enough, and when you're allowed to just talk about it, the releasing actually comes easier. So when I first did releasing, I did it every day. Now, as I've released more and I'm getting more messages back, I find that I release maybe once or twice a week, which seems to be enough. Everybody will vary on how much they need to do. Some people will meditate on it every day. I will say that a big thing of this that has come about is I have learned to meditate, and I never really was able to do that before, and now I'm really able to meditate. The other big thing is I've learned to let go of things in the past, and that's something we'll talk about at a later time. But that's so important to be able to release all these things in the past that kind of hold you back. So today I wanted to talk about a story, and this has just been ringing true. I did some releasing last week, and what came back was just really powerful, and it was just kind of in a dream, a thought process, and it rang true that this was really my message. And with everything going on in the world, all the stress, all the anxiety that goes on all the time, and listening to people, I realize that people do a lot of trying to justify or excuse themselves for areas they probably know or they do know aren't okay or aren't right. So let me tell you a story how this comes about. So for me, I chose to be a vegetarian years ago because I just knew that factory farming wasn't okay. For me, it's just not okay to see these animals suffer. I can't see that any living creature needs to suffer in that way for me to eat. And I knew that it wasn't a necessary thing to have into my life. So it was, for me, okay to let that go. The one thing we couldn't let go, or especially me, was dairy. And I kept making excuses on why I had to keep eating dairy. Why did I have to keep putting milk and cheese and cream in my coffee? All these things were dairy related. And why could I give up everything else and justify that, but say, well, the cow was still alive. She's just being milked. It's okay. But something kept nagging at me and nagging at me and nagging at me. And I just couldn't live this fulfilled life of feeling like, I'm really doing this for the animals. So one day I just said to my husband, you know what, I feel like there's a truth out there I'm not facing. That, here I'm so proud of not eating animals for the animals' sake, but I'm still allowing dairy in my life, saying that while the animals are alive, they want to be milked, it's all okay. And I said, I have to face this. I don't want to face it, but I have to face it because it's nagging at me and I know something's not okay. So we found footage and information about what dairy cows really go through and what we're really consuming when we're consuming milk. And not just what they go through, but the health. We did a ton of research and understanding on both sides of the issue. And it was so clear at that moment, just that instant when we did that dairy was not okay. It wasn't any more acceptable than eating meat. In my mind, it was such a negative thing in my life, just like eating animals was. For me, that's a black, dark energy I just didn't need in my life. And I knew it wasn't okay. And then it was clear with dairy the same way, that it is such a bad energy. And I don't need that. I obviously had enough stress and anxiety going on. I didn't need to add the stress and anxiety of what was going on with the cows. And so we instantly made the decision. We threw out everything that was dairy. We made a plan to never buy it again, never eat it again. And it was just such, I can't tell you the sense of relief to finally come clean and say, to say, I want to understand this. I'm not going to pretend like this is okay. I'm not going to sit back and say, as long as I don't know the truth, it's all right. If I keep telling myself it's okay, then it will be. I had to find out the truth. I had to be honest with the truth. And then I had to face what I needed to do. And that was to give up dairy. And the relief that came from that and the feeling of peace. And I can't tell you how many things went better in my life once I was able to eliminate that. And the point of this story is that we often do this in our lives. We're so busy making excuses or making reasons why we do things that we know in our subconscious and wherever that it's not okay. It's not okay. It is harming our lives, it's harming the environment, and it's harming maybe a whole nother being that didn't ask for this. We know. And I find this often, I don't mean to rally on the not eating meat stuff, because that's just a choice they made, and I never attempt to make anybody feel like they need to quit eating meat. That's a decision they have to make. I always encourage it. If they want help, I'm always willing to help, but I never force anybody into it. But I often find people, when they meet me or they find out that I don't eat animals, they become they have to give me all these excuses why they can't stop eating animals, or they have to give me, reasons why I'm crazy. Or they're always kind of talking nonstop. These can be the quietest people who are just mellow humans, but when they find out this one instance, they can't stop the conversation, and they can't stop justifying it to me. They can't stop making excuses why they have to eat meat. And I know, just for me, and in the back of their minds, they know it's wrong. They know it's not okay. Or they would just say, gosh, I didn't know, maybe I should learn more. I'm not ready to do that. I know it's not okay, whatever. When you know something's not okay and you're open and honest about it, you either decide to eliminate that or help it, or you just admit right now you're helpless with it. This is a choice we make in our everyday lives. For instance, I don't mean to always bring up my husband, but he said something to our young son that to me was, it was just a flip of the moment, something, how you do with your kids, they piss you off or do something, and so you say something you don't mean. And it wasn't that he said something horrible, but he said something that to me in the end could be damaging. It could be, it's like, you know, how I always picture when my brothers used to fight with me, they wouldn't just say, oh, I don't like it. They'd be like, you're the ugliest, worst sister, and you're a horrible human. That's how they would talk to me on a regular, you know, and it wasn't meant to just get mad at me. It was meant to hurt me to my core. And sometimes we say those things. And instead of coming back and saying, you know what? I wasn't right. That wasn't okay. I am so sorry. You know, we find that we have to make excuses. Well, you were pissing me off and you needed it. And boy, you were doing it. You know, we always are finding reasons to do what we're doing and make excuses, you know, and it's time for all of us to just step back and say, you know what? We're humans. And sometimes we're ready to make steps in different directions. Sometimes we're not. And sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes, you know, we fall in the wrong direction. I mean, I know, you know, I talk to so many people who are dieting and they'll say, oh, I'm so bad because I ate a piece of cake tonight. You know, you didn't do anything bad. You've admitted, yeah, I ate a piece of cake, you know, and it flew off from what I've been trying to do. And that's okay. And I just pick up right this moment and just do better right from this moment. I don't have to do tomorrow. I don't have to feel guilty about it all night. And I certainly don't have to have in my head that I put on 20 pounds just because I had this fallout. So anyway, you know, we all know right from wrong. We all know what we're doing. And we all want to do the right thing. And it's not always possible at that moment. All I can say is, you know, don't give in on yourself. Don't hate yourself for it. Just know that you as a person want to continue to find out truth. You know, I mean, look at the current political situation. Some people love certain candidates. Some people hate certain candidates. It's not what candidate you like, it's when you're not willing to accept the best and the worst of that candidate and say, yeah, they've got faults, but I like them here and I can accept that fault. That's a truth and that's something you can live with versus saying they've done no mistakes, they're perfect. You know, that's not a truth. There is no such thing as a perfect candidate. So anyway, it's just my message to you. It's what I really learned this week, and I'm taking it really true to heart with everything I do. I'm trying to be honest with myself and honest with what I'm doing and be really truthful and really, you know, quit trying to make excuses for anything when faults are made and start saying, you know what, this mistake was made. Okay, so what am I going to do from this point forward? Because I want to be the best person I can. And I assure you, the more you do this, the more you say, instead of trying to make excuses for bad things or just think if all you do is spin circles, you don't have to face the truth. Nothing will change. It's this moment that you say, you know, I see the faults. I see the mistakes. And maybe I can't change it at this moment, but at least I recognize them and I'm not going to make excuses. And maybe later I can figure out how to change this or how to make this acceptable, or I can see the parts I can accept and the parts I can, and you can move forward and find great things in your life, because with that honesty and with that clarity, it empties out this monkey mind you have, and it empties out this congestion and this anxiety and this strangulation. You're ready to move forward into great things. All right. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great week. Again, if you need anything or you want to reach out to me, I would love to hear from you, hear your opinions on this. And again, have a great week. Thanks.